Do you have ideas but you worry they aren't as good as anyone else's? Do you get stuck going the same way as everyone else? Do you feel out of control? Do you wish you could do something a bit different, but you're a little bit scared? Well, there is another way. You need to be less jellyfish. Welcome aboard, folks, to the Annoyingly Optimistic Show, the go-to destination for the savviest entrepreneurs and business owners who crave a heady concoction of knowledge, inspiration, and a sprinkling of humour. I'm your host, Paul Inskip, here to accompany you on this exhilarating journey through the world of business. Together, we'll venture into the fascinating realm of ideas, unravel the mysteries of success, and equip you with hands-on strategies to worry less, make more, and be brilliant. I'd love to hear from you, so please reach out, comment, or message me to share how you've been helped, inspired, or simply got a fresh outlook. Let's embark on this annoyingly optimistic adventure together. And remember, worry less, make more, and be brilliant. So today, we're sailing into the intriguing world of jellyfish. Now, we're not discussing their stunning bioluminescence or even their seemingly immortal nature. Instead, we're talking about the business owners who have turned into entrepreneurial equivalents of the floaty sea creatures. They float through the currents of the business ocean, feeling the push and pull, just riding the waves. They're like surfers who've forgotten that they can actually paddle, not just wait for the next big wave. But here's the kicker. Even surfers know when it's time to paddle back to shore, grab a sandwich, and maybe a new surfboard. There's this common belief, this irksome sea urchin of a thought, that the current, the status quo, is the only way. It's as if they're waiting for Poseidon himself to give them a nudge in a new direction. Waiting for divine intervention in business is like waiting for a jellyfish to perform Swan Lake. Spoiler alert, that's not happening. So here's the real catch of the day. The ability to change direction, to steer our own ship, doesn't need the blessing of your clients, your competitors, or even the mermaids. It's all about you. You're the captain of your enterprise, not a passenger on a cruise ship to Mehville. So I consider myself rather lucky. Now, before you mistake that for some cloaked boast, let me just clarify. The essence of this doesn't lie in lottery winnings or serendipitous clover fields. It's nestled in the hearts of the businesses that have, for reasons as varied as the businesses themselves, bestowed upon me their trust. A trust that I value higher than a unicorn's firstborn. A trust to aid, guide, and uplift them in their pursuits. Determining the kind of help one needs can feel like locating a needle in a galaxy-sized haystack, let alone finding the right person to aid with this particular problem. Choosing to place that trust in someone else's hands, especially concerning something as personal as our own livelihood, is akin to entrusting them with the keys to our very soul. And if you ask me, there's no greater honor in the world of entrepreneurship. That's why I consider myself lucky. I'm invited to collaborate with brilliant minds leading stunning businesses, confronting fascinating challenges, and they pick me to accompany them on this journey. Now, as part of my occupational dance routine, I find myself in an intricate tango with the individual and their business, aiming to understand each as intimately as the other. You see, most self-employed superheroes, solo entrepreneurs, or small-scale enterprises are propelled by their founders' sheer will. Their businesses are, in essence, extensions of their own selves. By delving into both, I become the perfect sidekick. Now, each and every business, and yes, I'm speaking to you, possesses the spark and the fervor to enact feats of entrepreneurial magic, to escape the lulling rhythm of what I call jellyfish lifestyle. And yet, doubts arise, like pesky seagulls swooping in on your seaside picnic. Fear wraps around you like a whirlpool, and the current of inertia pulls you back. Time and time again, I've been gifted with the fulfilling privilege of witnessing these brave souls unlock the vaults of their own potential, uncover groundbreaking ideas, and wacky ones as well, and truly grasp the heights that they were capable of scaling. And all I did, well, I was the fortunate fellow who got to lend a hand, navigating them away from the tides of self-doubt and helping them to be less jellyfish. Now, it took me far too long to realize that I was in full-on jellyfish mode. I was raking in the elusive check marks of success. People adored my work. I took a semblance of pleasure in my work, give or take an ish. And from the outsider's vantage point, I was soaring in the high skies of prosperity. I bore the polished veneer of the A-list enterprise, or more aptly, a model jellyfish. Yes, I was riding the tide, swaying to the rhythm of the oceanic ballet, bowing to the path of least resistance. After all, the masses were drifting along, and their sheer volume screamed at me that this must be the path to tread. It was gratifying, and my perceptions of my own path reflected the shimmering image painted by public opinion. But here's the rub. My gut told me there was more to life than bobbing aimlessly in the waves. Most of the time, I didn't feel like just another faceless jellyfish in the current. I had this gnawing sense of an unsung song, a door unopened, a game yet unplayed, something more to reach for, to strive for, to do. Initially, I shrugged this off as restlessness or the classic grass is greener on the other side. And for a brief while, it put the lid back on my growing descent and nudged me back into the welcoming arms of the current. But slowly and steadily, I began to feel an itch to push against the tide, to break the mold. So what was it that I really pined for? Well, alas, I didn't know myself. I just kept these burgeoning ideas under wraps, afraid they would rip me away from the comforting sway of the ocean current. The snack, though, was that the more I suppressed these feelings, the more I buried them deep within, the more I played ostrich with them. My business bore the brunt of it. My focus began to scatter, and even though I was still drifting with the tide, I found myself lagging, the jellyfish equivalent of being left in the dust. Now, in my experience, it's almost impossible to break out of this trap without outside help. Whether that's a friend, a mentor, a coach, a book, or maybe even an annoyingly optimistic podcast. Something needs to give you a jolt and allow you to change direction. For me, it was a random request from a very unusual source that was the eye-opening moment. So picture this. I was elbow deep in my photography ventures, dogged by the gnawing sensation that my accrued wisdom and experience could be put to better use. And then I was sought out by a company. A referral from a long-term customer and a familiar face had led them to my doorstep. Now, the quirky twist in the tale, and as fate would have it, the pivotal point, was that they weren't there for my photography prowess. Neither were they there in search of my design work, my previous professional dalliance. What they sought was my counsel and guidance to dissect a plethora of errant projects, to pinpoint the pitfalls and strategize their redemption. As their request washed over me, I was flabbergasted, blinking in disbelief, convinced they'd maybe got the wrong number. Now, thankfully, my entrepreneurial instincts, primed to say yes first and figure it out later, my default setting, seized control and I agreed to meet them. A week later, I found myself across a table with three of the top executives. As they unfurled the puzzle before me, any traces of apprehension evaporated as my mind started whirring like a dynamo, generating a flurry of ideas, diagnostic tools, and strategies that we could employ to delve into this quagmire. With every tick of the clock, my confidence swelled. However, a lingering question remained, an enigma I needed to unravel. As the meeting drew to a close, they were clearly taken by my volley of insights, and they invited me to voice any queries. I had a pair. The project's priority rank and, more importantly, what led them to seek me out. While the first was for context, the second was the itch that I'd been dying to scratch since I took my seat. Their response was a curveball. They told me that the referrer, a woman who I'd photographed with her family over almost a decade, with the usual accompanying banter and everything else, had been struck by the knowledge of various things that had come out, one of them being my business degree. She'd not only been a customer, but had also observed my business's evolution. She noticed the systematic manner in which I had steered its growth and reckoned that I might be the man for the job. To this day, I can't be sure, but I fervently hope I managed to keep my jaw from dropping to the floor as they unraveled their reasoning. This was precisely the thread that had been tugging away at me from the blissful haze of the jellyfish lifestyle. Yet it took an external observer, a customer, to spot it, and in doing so, conferred upon me the endorsement, permission, and the empowerment to veer off the established path. So you ask, what's the big deal about being a jellyfish? How is this aquatic allegory helpful to you? Well, like the best pieces of wisdom, it's simple, but not necessarily easy. See, jellyfish do not set their own course. They can go up and down, and they can produce a small amount of sideways movement. But most jellyfish just get swept along with the current, helpless to steer their own course. They are taken wherever the current goes, unable to avoid the dangers that the current may take them towards. They can't set a destination, they can't change course, and they can't take advantage of opportunities outside the current. Does any of this ring a bell? Because too many amazing entrepreneurs get stuck in this current. So let's see if we can break you free. Now, the first step is recognizing the current. It's the force we unwittingly succumb to, the deceptive comfort of the go with the flow mentality that leaves us bobbing in the ebb and flow rather than steering our own course. Until we awaken to the fact that there is another way, and I promise no Mandalorian quotes, then we're permanently stuck. Because it's a bleak truth that there isn't a truly successful business, and I emphasize the truly, that soared to the heights by embracing its inner jellyfish, by letting its customers, critics, competition, and the prevailing current dictate its capabilities, trajectory, and future. Every genuine success story sees the business morph into the captain of its own destiny, even if it means risking a plunge into the deep. This mindset, though, is a tough cookie to crack, given that it's drummed into our brains since preschool. And no, we're not on about some kind of weird jellyfish workshops that they've added into the curriculum. But the curriculum itself, throughout our educational journey, is tailored to mold us into compliant workers. Blend in, don't rock the boat, have faith in the higher-ups to keep you on track, work hard and success will follow. Does that sound familiar? So it's hardly a shocker when these lessons seep into our entrepreneurial ventures, compelling us to uphold the trend, work hard, look at the competition, blend in, maintain peace. And it's this very mentality that spells the downfall of countless businesses. The traits that can serve you well in a job or a career, precisely what education equips us for, can be entrepreneurial quicksand. Success is carved not by succumbing to the current, but by charting your own distinct standout course. If you ever had that nagging feeling that you've missed out by mindlessly being stuck in the current, by not being able to set your own destination, then you're on the cusp of tapping into your business's dormant potential and shattering the educational shackles of jellyfishdom. So it sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Recognize that success is about defying the current and step outside it. Yeah, unfortunately, simplicity isn't synonymous with ease, though. So what's the game plan? Well, this is where looking for help comes into play. You could attempt with friends, with family, but if they are current swimmers, if they are jellyfish, they'll merely amplify your doubts and prolong your float in the current. The trick is to find someone who's already braving uncharted waters, taking their own path, someone who's defying the norm. But be aware, merely chatting with any adventurous soul might land you in an echo chamber for risk-taking, akin to your conformist pal's safe play echo chamber. What you need instead is a sounding board, someone who can patiently listen to your ideas without judgment or ridicule, pick up on the subtle cues, the fervor, the contempt, the excitement, the passion, and ask the right questions to delve deeper, comprehend it, and offer truly valuable feedback. Stumbling upon the right person can feel incredibly empowering, regardless of the advice. The first time you experience this, it might feel as though they've granted you permission, which in truth you don't need, to explore or develop your idea. But in reality, or we should say in jellyfish terms, what they've done is they've fitted your passion, your concept, with its own little outboard motor, enabling you to break free of the current and dictate your own direction. Now, regrettably, there's no global directory of jellyfish outboard motor providers. Now, there's a Google search I'd love to run. Your ally can often spring from the most unlikely places, and the search can be challenging. Now, if you're listening to this, truly listening to this, and it strikes a chord with a long-suppressed idea or passion or a venture that seems too good or too unconventional to explore, I urge you to drop me a message. I might not be your ideal jellyfish whisperer, but it could be a baby step towards breaking free of the current. And what have you got to lose? A few minutes of messaging and a 20-minute call, it might just be the wake-up call you need. So being less jellyfish is about breaking free from the current, going your own way and following your own path, the paths that are traveled by all highly successful people. However, the idea of doing this can be far easier than actually doing it. You've been taught from an early age to play it safe and to follow, and breaking that can be hard. So you need an ally, someone you can explore these ideas with, but it has to be the right person, not someone who will always say jump or someone who will always say stop. Find this person and start the journey to be less jellyfish. Well, we're at the end of another fun-filled episode of the Annoyingly Optimistic Show. Here's hoping you've found your pot of gold at the end of this rainbow, brimming with insight, inspiration, and ideas to tackle your business dilemmas with a twinkle in your eye and a spring in your step. If you've enjoyed this episode, pass it on. Share the love, leave a review, or reach out and see how we can make your business everything you dreamed it would be. And for a weekly dose of optimism, hop on over to worrylessmakemore.co.uk and sign up for my Worry Less newsletter. Until our next adventure, remember to worry less, make more, and be brilliant.